Alrighty. Good evening, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, what have you. We are ready to make that final push on our ring shoes, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait. So, I'm gonna get my glue gun hot because we got to trim. I did clean up a little bit this morning, not enough, but a little bit. All right, flipping my power switch so my glue gun can warm up because we're gonna need that because look at all those beauties ready to go, almost ready to go. So I was kind of matching up the rings and whatnot with the girls. So we've got our 4 white shoes that are gonna get gold rings. So before we do anything, we need to put that last little bit of glitter on the little prongs of our rings. We've got 4 white shoes glittered up, ready to go. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. The bow that I already glued on was sitting weird, so I popped it off. So now I've got 4 loose white bows to put on our 1, 2, 3, 4 jewelry box shoes. All right, so, and then I've got a bunch of the big stones to make the settings, so we're going to do that. But we are ready to roll. So first things first, we are going to set these gals aside. Took them out just to put them down. All right, so first things first, we get a little scrap paper, and we have our clean brush, and we have the metallics that we're doing on our rings. We're gonna do that first. Oh, actually, we're gonna do the second coat of silver on her first. She does need a second coat of silver. We could maybe get away with not doing it, but we're just gonna be happier if we do it, so let's take the time to do the thing right. So this one took the longest of everyone in our batch. The reason being she needed to be primed and painted because she was getting a semi-sheer glitter on the body of the shoe. So she needed first to get a coat of Invisible Jet, and then when that was dry, she needed paint, and then she needed 2 coats of Robin's Egg Blue, and then she needed 2 coats of silver. So of all the girls in the batch, she was the highest maintenance, but we are not going to hold that against her because sometimes the high maintenance divas perform really beautifully for us. So I haven't made up my mind yet about how I feel about the two-tone, the blue combined with the silver versus just the blue all the way through, like the whole box is that color. But I'm going to reserve judgment until the whole thing is complete. Trimmed, embellished, lettered, or glittered, if you will. Your glittered lettering is your glittering. Okay. So that is nice and glued. Set my brush down. Don't want to set her down because she's, here we go. Got my DEA plus Ceylon Silver Girl, which I want to use on the shoe but not on the ring. You good, buddy? Are you okay, Mo? Okay, sorry to holler. I hope that doesn't like mess up y'all's sound. I hope you aren't like relaxing and listening and hearing me yell in my mom voice. Okay, all right. Pretty. So she is now, when that dries, she is done. Okay. And so that is DEA badge plus sale on Silver Girl. We are going to set her aside because we're using plain DEA badge silver all by her lonesome. Not lonesome, but all by herself for the rings. But first we're going to do these 4 little gold rings. Just touching up the tongs. Just getting the little setting. Because the way I do it is I hold it by the setting, glitter the band, let it dry, hold it by the band, glitter the setting, let it dry, and then flip it and do everything, another round of, everybody gets 2 coats. These are the things that take time and attention and effort. But when we're finished, we are proud of what we've done and pleased with our outcomes, and hopefully we should be proud of our effort regardless. All right, so now that is going to sit in my little, I don't know where I put the little box. It's all right. I'm going to set that down for now. I think it's light enough that it can just sit. And if it gets a tiny little smudge, these things happen. Okay. Okay. Looking good. Just glittering these little tongs. The little, I'm not a huge jewelry person, so I assume that they're called prongs. I assume that they're called settings, but if one of y'all know the actual term, I'm perfectly happy to hear it. As you know, if you watch me, I kind of make up words for things, and, you know, sometimes I make up words for things, and then I look it up later, and it's like, nope, there wasn't really a better word for that. When I did many, many videos making the pizza shoes, and I was like, you know, the thingy that you serve the pizza on, the pizza servy guy. And I looked it up, and the internet was like, yep, that's the server, the pizza server. And it's like, all right, okay, that might as well happen. Okay, but we're getting the last little bit of this ring nice and glue, 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 glitter, 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 and then just dry, dry, dry. And I accidentally got a bunch of glitter inside the ring, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, then 4, then 2 silvers, 2 sterling silvers, and then we can start to trim. And everything will dry while we trim. And then once it's dry, we can assemble, hopefully. Worst case scenario, we put all the trim on and we can assemble stuff tomorrow. And that would not be the worst thing, but it's very exciting to be so close to the finish line. That definitely gives me a little extra oomph. And it's good because the sort of monthly schedule that I have arbitrarily absolutely made up based on nothing. I mean, not based on nothing. I was kind of, my thought process was like, okay, there's 10 months between now and December, and it would be so amazing to be done by December. So if I want 60 shoes done in 10 months, that's 6 shoes a month. That feels doable, and it has been pretty doable. There's some things where it's like, oh, this slowed me down, or this whatever, but for the most part, that has been pretty doable for me. The hardest part for me is that I am committed to documenting every little bit. And so there are days where it's like, oh, I'm going to pop in there and work real quick. But like my hair isn't clean or like, you know, stuff like that. So I can't really hop on the YouTube. And I don't really worry too much about it, as I'm sure you can tell. I don't need to be like super polished with it, but there's limits. There's like even starting from a place of let's keep it casual, there are still limits to what I think is appropriate. So that kind of slows me down a little. If I were just working whenever I felt like working and I didn't have to like put a bra on, I would get a lot more done. But that is not the project I have laid out. That's not how I envision it. All right. That's a nice silver band. Set her down over that. This is going to work out perfectly. I'm almost done with this glue. I think I have exactly enough glue to finish exactly what I want to do, and it's so fun when that happens. All right. She looks pretty good. I'm just checking for bald spots because it's easy enough to do that while I'm finishing up the tongs. When I was looking at the Martha Stewart one, that glitter job looked a little patchy, and I was like, oh, do I want to add a little more? I can't quite decide. I don't think I want to fully do a third coat on those because that feels like a lot. And I also worry that if I do a third coat, the texture will start to get kind of bumpy. It's not a big deal to do 3 coats, but I do think 3 is kind of the limit. Once you start to do 3 coats, you kind of, your shoe, it starts to feel kind of thick. Starts to be thicker than a Snicker. Not a bad thing, but definitely something to account for. All right, she needs her tongs done for sure. And I think since these were a little bit sparse, I'm going to hold it by the very bottom because that won't show. That'll be at the bottom of the shoe. But I am going to do, I just said, oh, I don't want to do a third coat, but it does look a little patchy. And if you are an Instagram follower of mine, you perhaps know that this morning I came in here with big plans to get stuff done, and Fanny wanted quality time and snoogles, and I just couldn't quite bring myself to displace her. I could not quite talk myself into moving her, and it was fine. I had a lot of stuff to do at the glitter store anyway, so I was like, it's fine. I'll go to the glitter store and I will take care of this after the fact. Okay. We can do it. We're getting to the bottom of this already very little bottle, so I want to be careful. Whoop. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Oh, not in that sense, isn't there? There's a TikToker who says that. I mean it in the sense that I am pouring the glitter kind of lightly because it's because the bottle is getting a little light. That is pretty though. That is fun. If I had to guess, if I was absolutely forced to figure out what this was right now, I would say a mix of Effervescence, which is a very like cold champagne gold. I would say Effervescence, DEA badge, and maybe some Boeuf Gras to like lighten it up. But I have not gotten fully into the formulation yet, so do not quote me on that. Beautiful. That is very pretty though, so I do like that, and I am going to attempt to reproduce that mix with all my abundant free time. All right, where's the last one? Okay, she was hiding behind a shoe. I feel like I don't see her, but I feel like I hear Fanny playing with the door. But maybe I'm just imagining things. Very Edgar Allan Poe. All right, okay, all right, okay. I won't do the full. She's pretty good, and my bottle's pretty light, so I won't do the full. But 2 rings was exactly what I could get out of my one little bottle. So I'm glad I didn't try to do more of them, though it is pretty. But I wanted to have different stuff to look at. But this is a really pretty color, and I'm glad I have enough to reverse engineer it. Whew. Just barely though. I've got just the tiniest little bit. That's very satisfying though when you use up almost everything. Okay. So, let me put my rings in the dehydrator. Ura. Set them gently. And I am setting, the wet part is touching the tray, but I think they're light enough that it won't be an issue. When you glitter a shoe, you don't want to glitter the bottom of the shoe and then set it down like that to dry and let the weight of the shoe press the glue. It won't dry flat, if that makes sense. But these are pretty little, so it's not like ideal, but I think it's also okay this time. And sometimes if I'm doing little stuff, if I've got like little leaves or little, you know, berries and stuff, I try to, if I can, do the thing where I make the little, you know, hedgehog. I try to do that, but if I can't do that, things that are light, I will sometimes glitter and just set them down and sort of let their own lightness work with me. Okay, all right, okay. Rearranging everybody. Everybody is good. I'm going to set my precious little sample to one side. My glue is empty. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, so now let me clean this space real quick, because even that little bit of glittering, I just want my space a little cleaner. All right, a little bit more Maddie spelling work. Okay, so I've got a couple of different white trims that I'm going to play with. So on, I'm going to use silver on that one, obviously, so I'm going to save that. But, all right, my different white gimps. I've got a couple of different options that I'm going to mess around with. You guys okay? Moo?
Yes, we're fine.
You're good? Thanks, y'all. Sorry, occasional check-ins. All right, so this one had Miss May's. So that's got a little bit of a golden tinge to it. So I think I'm gonna do this one. This one is a little bit more golden, and then the other one, I've got a really satiny one and a brighter white one. So in the case of the wedding ring shoes, I know that I'm gonna have some flowers in the front. So I'm gonna start and stop my trim. I'm gonna start and stop in a spot that I know is going to be covered with flowers. On my Tiffany shoes, because I'm not, oh, I guess I am doing that. Basically, that's kind of like my rule of thumb, if you will, for trimming is be aware of what embellishments you're going to put on the shoe. Because if there's a spot that you already know is going to be camouflaged by your embellishment, you want to go ahead and nest your trim under that. And if there isn't, that's totally fine. But if you got a good hiding spot, you might as well hide there. If you don't, just start and stop it as cleanly as you can, and I usually just pop a little rhinestone on top of my join. I know you've heard me say that many, many times. And on these, my hot glue gun is so hot. Why are you so hot today, huh? Probably because it was plugged in for a minute before I started using it. And that's cool. Also, I think your glue gun can smell your fear. But I'm not afraid. I'm good. Okay. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay. Gorgeosity. Oh, I meant to grab my little tubes because I might get a chance to letter these. All right. Just a white trimmed edge on a white trimmed shoe. Pretty, pretty. Pretty, pretty. And this gimp has a little bit more of a warmth to it. Ooh. I try not to put more hot glue than I need, but sometimes you need to add a little more. You know, you want these things to survive, so So you can't be... When I'm doing something that's more complicated, I will absolutely use more hot glue. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. I am not going to use silver on these, even though there is a decent amount of silver tone in the... Well, I guess I could, because there's a decent amount of silver. I was going to say there's a decent amount of silver tone in the confetti I've used, but I'm not sure the ring will vibe with silver. There is silver and gold blended together in the color that I used on the rings for the wedding ring shoes. So it might vibe, but I would need to play. Also, I'm going to be so for real. I have a ton of white trim because I'm testing out different types of white trim for us to carry in the shop now that we can't get what we used to use. So I've got more white trim than silver trim, so I might as well really do some test driving, you know? That is not to brag on craft culture, but maybe to brag on it a little bit. Not to be that mom. I think part of the excellence of craft culture is that we really test stuff. We really put stuff through its paces. We really evaluate stuff. So a lot of the time, whatever you are handling at craft culture, by the time it's on the shelves, it has been through iterations. We have said, what if we did this a little bit brighter, a little bit darker? What if we added 10% more this or 20% less that? We really try to... I struggle with perfectionism. I'm not trying to be perfect, but I'm trying to get y'all the absolute best stuff I can, because that's how I would want to be treated as a customer. All right, I'm gonna glue this lip down a smidge, make her just a little more subtle, but she is trimmed and looking bridal and beautiful. So I have my join there. I will get myself a little 10-pack of like, you know, maybe like 10 millimeter AB rhinestones. All right, one down. So I'm gonna do, all right. So I tried the gold one. I like that. It's good. I'm gonna try some other whites as well. So this one has a really like kind of satiny sheen to it. It's gonna be impossible for y'all to see. I am leaning towards having some of these kind of satiny gimps in the shop. And for those of you who don't know, gimp is the style of trim. If you can see, it's very hard to see at this scale. But gimp basically means it's those little scrolls that repeat. So that when I'm saying that, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the image processing software, and I'm not talking about the dude from Pulp Fiction with the thing on his head. Do y'all know what I mean? If you don't know what I mean, don't Google it. Don't Google gimp from Pulp Fiction. Don't do it. If you don't know, I hope you enjoy your state of blissful ignorance on that. And I'm not saying ignorance as an insult. It's a hell of a scene. Everyone's probably seen Pulp Fiction's been out for such a very, very long time. I feel like Pulp Fiction is as old as I am. So probably you either know or you don't. You don't need me to tell you to steer clear. But yes, the type of trim that we are using today is called gimp. And there is Chinese gimp and there is French gimp. And it's just a slight difference in how they are oriented, I believe. I'm not, a textile expert, but that is my understanding as a seamstress's daughter and a craft enthusiast. That is my understanding. And you can get it in different thicknesses. I really like the 3/8 of an inch. It's a little bit thinner than a 1/2 inch. And a little bit thinner, I find, just hugs the curves a little bit more. I like that subtlety. Sometimes I'll go for a little bit more of a va-va-voom, but anyway, I am contemplating getting some of these sort of satin finished ones that have a little bit of shimmer to them, because it absolutely breaks my damn heart that I love gimp. I love the way it hugs the curves. It's one of my very favorite things to put on the edges of my shoes, because I think a trimmed edge just looks cleaner and prettier and more polished, more finished. So I basically always trim. There's a very few exceptions. On my geode shoes, I kind of like those to look like they were just sort of like carved out of rock. And weirdly, I have the same vibe on my mermaid bathtubs. Trim, I'm like, I don't want to trim that. I want it to look like some weird coral formation that was shaped like a tub and she just happened to be sitting in it. Okay. So on rare occasions, I sort of want it to look like something that was fashioned by the hand of nature and not the hand of Nori. And so on those occasions, I will not trim, but that's a very rare situation. For the most part, I trim all my edges. And I like the 3/8 gimp a lot. We have some absolutely stunning trims at the glitter store, especially for heavier weights. And so sometimes I'll get into the heavyweight for particular things. Some shoes can really hold the weight of that. Like I've got in the back here some of my light up tiles. I don't know if y'all can see. I've got a couple light up tiles there. I've got a champagne one, I've got an oyster bar one, and I've got a disco one. The light up tile shoes, I tend to pick a pretty big shoe. And so it can kind of, and I put a ton on it, so that can kind of handle the heft of that. All right, that's 2 done. And then, yeah, I like the satiny finish, but you know, we're gonna play. And then, this is my bright white. On these, the bright white just looks a little bit too cartoonish. It'd be very cute on like a white white picnic tablecloth with like a pretty eyelet. You know, this combo would be really terrific. But I don't love it. On this shoe, it's weirdly making my bright white glitter almost look yellow because it's so white. So that's good to know and good to have. But I think I'm gonna do the satin finish on her. I think both of the girls who got Buff Gras and Pearl Jam are gonna get this satin finish. That's very bridal. White satin is very bridal, so it works. Okay. Whew. I need to correct my posture. When I'm glittering, it sort of naturally melts all the tension out of my shoulders. That is not true when I am trimming, embellishing, lettering. Glittering is really the only task that does that particular miracle for me. But I enjoy the other tasks. It's very satisfying to kind of make progress towards a shoe being more done. Okay. Beautiful. And I'm very excited to be so close to the finish line on these, but I'm not gonna rush. I'm gonna take my time and get it where I want it. Beautiful. The nice thing about this nice simple silhouette is it's just one edged trim. If I have a platform, I kind of have to like trim the platform also. And it's not, you know, it's not putting hours onto the project's clock, but it is nice that these are so simple. I can just zip them around. These are really beautiful silhouettes. I'm really loving them. I'm glad I kind of collected and saved these pretty pointy. They're just so, it's so boxy. It's so geometric. There's something very satisfying about the shoe having such a nice high heel and such a pretty, almost, you know, it's a beautiful shape and I love it. But of course the design works with other shapes of shoe. We use what we have got. Every throw kind of has different quirks. And to me, one of the most sort of challenging and by extension, one of the most interesting things about the shoes is you can't just go like buy a dozen of them. You know, you got to go thrift and see what you can find. So it's very like hunter-gatherer, you know, it's very like you got to work with what's available to you. And I think that's actually I think that sparks your creativity in really fun ways. I think in some ways being constrained, it's almost like one of those like cooking competition shows where like you open a box and what's in there is what's in there, and you have to use your skill and your creativity and your technique and your inspiration. And that's maybe overstating it a little. Like the difference between a professional chef and a shoe artist is maybe not exactly like I'm not trying to say anything there about my line of work and anyone else's line of work, but I do think that's kind of fun. All right, Now, last one. She got done entirely in that mix, and she got a little bit of, can y'all see her twinkling real pretty? She's very twinkly because she got those unicorn freckles layered in with magic white. So she's got a lot of boom. I like the satin on her too. The satin is emerging as a fan favorite here in the poll of me. Okay. Okey-dokey. And we're half an hour in, so I maybe was overly ambitious regarding how much I would be able to do in one setting. One setting. But these girls are trimmed, so we can maybe get rings on them, and we can at least start the Tiffany, the jewelry boxes, because those might actually need an extra step while we let the ribbon dry anyway, because I do like to put the ribbon on there and let it dry. So we can get started on those, but we won't get all the way. We won't get all the way across the finish line. But the finish line being in our sights and making steady progress towards it is still very exciting for me. Yeah, I like that a lot. The satin looks really good with magic white, and the satin looks really good with buff gras, and those are two of my favorites. So I like the odds of the satin one being. That doesn't mean we won't carry others, but I am enjoying the finish a lot. All right. Okay. So pretty. There's something very zen about just crisp, cleanly executed monochromatic shoes. It's a little more jazzy and exciting to do multiple colors on a shoe, but there is something very mellow about. And of course, each of these is slightly different. The different shapes, different choices of glitter or confetti. Those do impact the composition a little bit, but there is something very zen about a little flock of monochromatic shoes. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Okay. A few little webbies, but all right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 trimmed shoes. And you can see a little bit in the light that this one is a little bit more golden than this. This is a little more gold. This is a little more silver. This is a little more iridescent pastel. And then there's the kind of silvery again. But those are my wedding ring shoes so far. Set those aside. Set those aside. And they're all pretty in different ways. Oh, I love them all. I can't pick a favorite. They all bring a little something to the table. All right. So, let me check my my gold ring? It's almost dry. We're getting close. Oh, so, if we want to do Okay, she's dry. She's dry enough. Okay, so what I think I want to do is actually set her there. I'm going to do the white satin on her. And I remember thinking there's a particular order I would like to do this in. I'm going to do the white trim on the top. And she would do fine with either white or silver, but since I'm doing silver on the other one, I'm going to go ahead and lean in on the white on this one so that I have options. And like I said, I have more of the white, so you know, something to consider. Nothing wrong with letting your artistic vision be informed by a little bit of practicality. And I like them both a lot, so it's not like I'm sacrificing anything to use up the stuff that I have more of. And it gives me more data points to make decisions about what goes onto the craft culture shelves. All right. So, let's go. I'm being a little naughty. I'm doing a longer stretch of hot glue than I really should. And that's like, your mileage may vary. But I'm confident in my hot gluing. So I feel okay about that. Oh, where did I put my ribbon? I think I put it with the, yes, I did. I put it with the wedding flowers. We'll get into that later. Okay. Okay. Beautiful white satin ribbon. Okay. And I'm just figuring out the angle I want this so that it looks pretty. Yeah. All right. Okay. White satin ribbon, and I'm going to trim that a little bit so that when I lay my trim on the edge, it sits flat and nice. Okay. Alrighty. Where's my little bows? Make sure my bow looks good. Yep, my bow looks great. So as I was saying, that one came out great. As I was saying, when I do the kind of simple, I just need to do the, I'm seeing some goofy texts from my friends. I cannot wait to see what the heck that's about. When I have a platform, I have to line the platform and the lower edge. So again, it doesn't add a ton, but it is a nice little extra bonus. Little bonus feature of these really pretty pointy highs. High-heeled girls. Such a classic pump. Such a beauty. Okay. Go over there. Okay. And so you can see I have laid the trim on top of the ribbon. So it's nicely tucked in. Okay. Okay. But one of the nice things about a platform is I can go all the way around I don't have to make a join, and then I go to the other edge and tuck it in, and I'll show y'all. Oh my God, my text messages are popping off. Y'all are too funny. Is it? Oh, I guess people are getting off of their 9 to 5s. I have very responsible friends who apparently are not texting me while they're on the clock, so I hope their employers appreciate them doing that. All right. Okay. And so it's got the kind of double there, which, you know, that's pretty. I like that just fine. I could have just ignored it and gone all the way down, but I think, you know, sometimes it's nice to honor the edge of the platform a little bit. And I have seen people cut GIMP in half and make an even more delicate kind of little scalloped edge. That is so, so cool. I am not a master of that as of yet, but that is certainly on my list of things I would like to play with and get better at. So what I've done is I've gone all the way around, come back around, and now I'm going to tuck it in underneath this edge so that I have no seam on this. That's a hard thing to explain. I maybe need to like do a little overhead shot sometime. But let me try to explain. I started, where did I start? I'm like, this is hard to explain. I'm having trouble explaining it to myself, and I just did it. So I started here, went across here, up, around, all the way across the back, and then I went down along the lower edge, down along this lower edge, and then I popped this up and glued it underneath there. Hopefully that made sense. If not, it is what it is. All right, she's beautiful. I'm going to grab some clean glue and a little brush. I'm going to make sure I have some, where's my Miss Mace? I'm going to put a little Miss May on her. And it would have also been very pretty to do one of the other whites on her, Magic White or Boeuf Gras. Le Boeuf Gras. But I already did the bows in Miss May's, and I want it to all match. So easier, when you're doing a big batch, easier to kind of do it all in one, and then you don't have to worry. So it's fun to mix it up and try different things and kind of experiment with side-by-side comparisons, but it's also fine if, in the interest of efficiency, you just go ahead and Henry Ford your way through that task, which is what I've done on this occasion. I really love the Pearl Jam with this breakfast trademark infraction, though, guys. I was not expecting to be so wowie zowie hubba hubba in love with that, but I am wowie zowie hubba hubba in love with that, if you will. Okay. All right, we gotta let that dry, and when it dries, we will glue the bow on, and we'll glue the ring in. Okay. So last one to trim of our big, beautiful flock of 8. All right, she is, I'm going to set my Miss Maze aside for the moment because I need to trim her. She's got the silver bottom. Shorty had them silver bottom jeans, if you will, even if you won't. Nice and dry. She was in the dehydrator, which is why she was able to dry that fast. I don't want y'all putting a second coat on and being like, well, Nori put one on there and in 45 minutes it was dry. Be aware that she went into the dehydrator. I don't want false advertising to spoil anyone's experience. Okay. This one, I'm gonna do just straight across, but first I'm gonna do my silver. Where are you, silver girl? All right, silver. This is, we used to carry, come on. I'm trying to show you all the packaging. We used to carry these little lilac spools at Craft Culture, and we do still have some, but not a ton. So if you're in there and you like this and you see a color you like, grab it, because when it's gone, it's not coming back. The way of the world, I'm afraid. It feels like it's happening a lot, and we're able to keep up with things. We hustle at Craft Culture, but we are definitely, since the day we opened, it has been like, all right, we test it out. This is the product we like. This works best for us. The price point and the value and the quality and the formula and da-da-da-da-da. This is it. We want to carry this. We get all set up, and then shortly thereafter, it's like, oh, nope, psych. Let's try again. Whew. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. But that's the nature of the thing, you know. Everybody's doing their best, us included. And sometimes people will be like, oh, but I loved those. I want you to stock them. And it's like, same, girl. I also loved them. I also want us to stock them, but sadly no one is putting me in charge of everything. Actually, thank God no one's putting me in charge of everything. I would not want to be in charge of anything. All right. There's different methods for putting the kind of little pinch in there. You can kind of twist the ribbon. That works. You can kind of put a little bit of thread in there. On this occasion, I have just put a little tiny dollop of hot glue. Tiny, tiny, and pinched it hard. But be careful, because you are pinching hot glue with your fingies. All right, last little lady. And the nice thing is, once I finish this, I will know how much extra silver I have for my extracurricular pizzas, which are back there. And once I finish some extracurricular pizzas, I can definitely clear up some space in here, which I would like to do. Okay. Don't put too much hot glue under your satin ribbon, because it is going to kind of show a little bit. So put it where you need to, and then try to cover it with trim if you can. Does she look even? Yeah. The other thing is, I'm always trying to make it look kind of, this is another sort of tricky, little tricksy quirk. It's like tricky trick. Nope, that's not how we want to say that. I'm going to do the same thing again, so follow along with me if you will. I start at the top of the platform. I put the trim along the top edge of the platform. I go around. But yeah, another sort of little tricky quirk of working with shoes is shoes do have a little directionality. They aren't, so you're trying to make, you know, that's this and, who is your buddy? Are you two a pair? Yeah. So like, they will have directionality. They will lean a little in one way or the other because it goes on a left foot and a right foot. They aren't just straight down the ticket, you know, even geometrically normal. So sometimes when you're trying to get something even on both sides, you have to account for the fact that there's a little bit of a swerve, a little bit of a directionality, a little bit of a, it veers a little bit. All right, started there, went all the way around, went over here. Don't glue this down too much because we're going to need to sneak somebody in there very shortly. And this is the sort of the whip it around and tuck it in thing. This is, I would say, a slightly more advanced crafting technique. If you are watching my videos because you just found out that you are subbing and you've got like a very short amount of time to get a lot done, don't try to whip it around and tuck it in. You're gonna have a headache and you're gonna be frustrated. If you've been doing shoes for quite some time, give it a shot. See how you like it. It only works on platforms because you can't tuck anything in if you don't go around a second time. But if you have a platform shoe, try it out. Start at the top side of Start at one side of the top of the platform, go around, loop up around the back of the shoe, bring it down around the bottom, and then tuck it in on the other side of the platform top where you started. Again, if that all sounds like gibberish to you, then hey babe, refill your drink and do whatever works for you. You're going to have such a great ride, and I am so excited for you. And I can maybe make a little overhead shot of that it's going to be a little bit easier to see me do it overhead. But that's sort of pending interest. I have no idea what is interesting to people and what isn't. So I just kind of do what feels good to me. So I am now going around this lower edge of the platform. This is where I started, and I'm now covering the spot where I started with my loop back around situation. Okay. And so I think what we're going to do, because we're almost to an hour, and I do want to go have that quality time with my beautiful children, I am going to finish trimming all these, put the little bit of white glitter on this ribbon that she needs. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay. And so now I'm going to lift this up a little bit, and that's where I'm going to tuck this little edge in. And that way I don't have any raw edges showing. Ha 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 ha. Sneaky, sneaky. Do-do-do. And if you do have a raw edge, you just pop a little rhinestone on there. No problem. Oh, I'm so close to done with these, but I got to get my little 10-pack of AB rhinestones because that's going to be the very last thing. The lettering and those little finishing touches. Come on, girly, sit flat for me. The ribbon's a little bit in the way, but that's okay. That's okay. Beauty. Beauty. All right. All the way around. No raw edges. So she needs her little bit of white glue, a little bit of white glitter, and then when she dries, we'll glue the bows and we'll finish up the bows. So I think what we're going to do is this little bit of white paint, and then I'm going to show y'all on one of my wedding shoes what the process of assembling and attaching the ring looks like so that we all know. And then next session will be easy breezy. We'll just be gluing rings together, putting rings in boxes, adding flowers, and a little light glittering. A little light glittering for dessert. Okay. And I didn't put a ton of glue on the ribbon because I wanted it to kind of sit pretty and not be pulled tight, and I didn't want to see the glue showing through under the bottom. And so when I put my glue, it does slip slide a little bit, but a little slip slide never hurt anyone. White ribbon glittered. I'm going to scooch her down a little when I put the bow on so that she matches on both sides. But that is not a right now problem, because if I try to put hot glue onto wet glue, it's going to be a problem, and it's going to go tss, and it's not going to work. All right, so my girls are drying. My girls are Gucci. Let's put a ring. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. I like it, and we're going to put a ring on it. All right. So she is ready. Let me get a nice little, let me check my rings. Are all my rings dry? All my rings are dry. So I've got two kind of bright silver DEA badge. Ooh. I've got 2 silver and I've got 2 of that sort of interesting white gold color from the Martha Stewart, and then I've got 4 gold bands. So my 4 gold bands are all going to go on the wedding shoes. And so I am seeing some of them, though the Martha Stewart would be pretty good on a wedding shoe too. I like that a lot. Once I reverse engineer that, I might start using that on my wedding shoes. But that's not today. Today we're finishing shoes. And so we're going to work with what we have. All right. I want to make sure I get any glitter that snuck into the inside of the ring. I want to get that out. These are 52 millimeter round AB. Don't open stuff with your teeth. Pretend you didn't see me do that. AB. Flat back acrylic rhinestones. I make a little sandwich. I glue them together. Now I'm beautiful coming and going. And then I take my ring. I take my little sandwich. And I put a little dot of hot glue on each of the ends of the tongue. And I put my ring in the setting. Now, you could get away with doing just one of these. I'll show y'all. I want to hold that while it dries. But you could get away with just doing, instead of doing the sandwich, just sitting one in there. But I do think it makes it prettier from every angle. And pretty from every angle is what we're shooting for. But, you know, there are options. All right, so now I'm going to pop that ring right into that shoe. I'm going to angle it a little bit. Cute. Cute. And then let me get my little white chiffon pretties. I've been throwing them in the box, so who knows how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna need to get some more chiffon flowers, maybe. I've got some other flowers. I'm gonna mess around a little bit, but I've got enough of the white chiffon flowers. Y'all know I love those chiffon flowers because they make my little ruffles. Oh, so cute. Oh, love that. Love that. Okay. So I'm going to add a little glue to hold my ring in place. I'm going to add a little glue to hold my ring in place. The ring is pretty close to the same size as the shoe, so it doesn't need like a ton. It's pretty scrunched in there. Cute. Kind of sitting pretty. And then we're going to do a bunch of little white flowers. A bunch of our pretty little white chiffon flowers. Ooh. Make a cutie little ruffle. If you really scrunch the chiffon flowers together, they're really ruffly, which I think is very pretty. Gonna put 1 5-pack of chiffon flowers on here. And that, my friends, is one of my wedding shoes. She's ready to go make somebody happy. And I'm gonna repeat that process with the others. I'm gonna put an acrylic rhinestone here on my join. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. I think I actually might want one more so that she matches the front and the back. Come here. I'm sure I've got one more in here. There's always at least one more if you need it. Yeah, I've got a bunch of different... Don't open things with your teeth. I don't know what you're talking about. I would never. I've got a bunch of these little glittered roses. I might do some of these on one. I think that would be pretty. Probably on the one that's Miss May's. But all right, I'm going to cluster these. Let me scooch her down just a little bit. Just a little bit, and make a kind of a similar, so the ruffle on the top and the heel kind of matches. I want it to kind of match. Ooh-wee. Oh, boy. That is very, very beautiful, and I love her very, very much, and she feels very festive and very bridal. And next time I'm going to write muses on here, and I'm going to use the same light gold that I used for that. And I might, if I'm feeling really saucy, I might put some pearls in here. I've got some little, come here. Come to me, my melancholy baby. I've got lots to play with, so next time is going to be a fun little play session for us. I've got some little, like, that's pretty. Ooh. Next time, you know, that's pretty cute. We could do some of these. We could do some little, that's fun. So, yeah, we're going to play around next time. That'll be great. I was fishing for these little white pearls. I do want to put a bunch of little white pearls on my cutie pie. Make her extra fancy. You see? I'm going to put a bunch of little pearls. And then she's going to be absolutely radiant. I love her very much. So that's one mostly done. We're going to do the other, the others. I almost said the other, let's see. So yeah, oh, let me show y'all what I was talking about. If you wanted to, you could get away with just gluing one of these in. And that saves you, you know, like $2.75 or whatever per shoe. So like, you know, $3 per shoe, which is not nothing. But I personally think it's pretty when you look under, when it shines all the way around. When you are putting hot glue on the back of the rhinestone, don't drag the tip of the needle against the rhinestone. You might scratch the foil on the back and then it won't shine as beautifully. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. In she goes. And that's a ring. And that one can go into our little Tiffany box. Okay. Pretty, pretty. And you can decide what angle you want that ring to sit in there. That is up to you. That's pretty cute. I might, yeah, that's very pretty. And then she's gonna get a little bow, of course. So she doesn't get any flowers, but she does get her little white satin bow. So they kind of come out even in terms of like how embellished they are. The silver is nice with the silver trim, but I think it'll also be nice with the white trim. So those are my wedding ring, my jewelry box shoes. So the shoe is the box, and it's got such prettiness in it. And so next time we will play with different combinations of things. I'm very excited to do these like appliques on here. I've had these appliques in my stash forever, and those are going to be very bridal. That's fun. And then I've got these little white glitter roses. Those are fun. And this is all just random stuff I have in my stash. We do have the chiffon roses at Craft Culture, but you know, play with what you've got in your stash. It is a great, you know, dig around in your stash, and if it's white, it can go on your shoe. I've got some of these little guys. We'll do those on somebody maybe. Play with those perhaps. It'll be fun. We'll have a fun playtime, and sorry, I'm like, we're gonna wind it down, but now I'm kind of getting into the kind of having fun. Those are really pretty, the little white glitter roses. I know we have the white roses at Craft Culture. I don't know if we have the glittered ones at the moment. I think we have some colors of the glitter. I'm not sure we have all of them. Look how pretty that is. I like that a lot. Putting quite the little bouquet of sparkliness. Ooh, I wonder if I still have the white. I used to have white leaves. That would be really pretty if the whole floral arrangement was white. That would be a cute little option. But yeah, I'm futzing with this because it's fun. But I do need to wind it down. So this was, I am very, very pleased with where we are on our wedding rings and our jewelry boxes. So that is start to finish kind of what those are going to look like. And so next time we'll just keep playing. We'll just keep putting more embellishments. I do tend to, on these wedding rings, I do tend to put a little something on the front and a little something on the back, and that to me kind of looks balanced. But you can absolutely play with it and do whatever speaks to you. So I'm doing a little bit of white glitter roses up front, and I'm going to do a little bit of white glitter roses up here as well. I usually do slightly more drama on the front and a little bit of like an accent on the back, but there's many options. All right, so that was, oh boy, that was a good one. That was our kind of home stretch, the beginning of assembling our wedding rings and our jewelry box shoes. So join me next time. We'll do the rest of it. We'll get them lettered, and then maybe if I am really on top of stuff, I'll get the rhinestones, and then we'll like actually finish them. And that would be amazing. So thank you all so much. Hope everyone is doing great, and I'll see you guys next time.